Paul moves from having called them to this other orientation. At the end of 8, he transfers to giving his own example because he ended 8. The last verse was, well, if I'm going to cause people to stumble by eating, I'll never eat meat, right? Now, that was a signal that we're going to get part 2. If part 1 was, you guys, you ought to think of other people. You ought, it is just not, this is not just about your rights and freedoms. Part 2 is Paul's example. Am I not free? He says. Don't we have the right, Barnabas and I, Silas and I, the partners that I have and I, don't we have the right to food and drink? Do we not have the right to be accompanied by a believing wife, as do the other apostles and the brothers of the Lord and Cephas? If others have this right of support from you, shouldn't we have it? All the more because we founded your faith. But we did not use this right. On the contrary, we put up with anything rather than hinder the gospel of Christ. And he goes on to talk in the intervening passages about how they went and earned their own money, tent making famously, so that they wouldn't be a burden to the Corinthians, so that the Corinthians wouldn't think this was a charlatan scam, so that the Corinthians would actually see the character of God. What then is my reward in all this, having given up all those rights? Just this, that in preaching the gospel, I may offer it free of charge, and so not make full use of my rights as a preacher. So Paul, having told them, I need you to defer to other people and not be all about your own freedom and your own rights. Paul now says, that was kind of what you saw me doing. And here it goes on. Because if Paul's example is the positive, the sort of look at me and you'll see kind of what I mean, he then goes to scripture and unpacks Israel's fall in the wilderness. For I don't want you to be ignorant of the fact, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud and that they all passed through the sea. They were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. They all ate the same spiritual food, drank the same spiritual drink. In other words, they had every possible benefit God could give them. They knew stuff. Nevertheless, God wasn't pleased with most of them. Their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. These things happened to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the culmination of the ages has come. So, if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Do you see how Paul's negative example of Israel works? Paul is warning the confident Corinthians, maybe you aren't as sure as you think. Maybe you are more tethered to your old life. When people get cocky like you're cocky, pride usually comes before the fall. And so here we get Paul's example first. This is how I think you could look at it. Look at me. I did it this way. You know that I did it this way. I was among you. And then he hops over to, and if that doesn't work for you, look at Israel and the danger that ensued from their cockiness, so that pride came before the fall for them. So don't think that monotheism is fully ensconced in you and that contact in everyday life with the old life or the old ways is not going to dent you. In other words, be vigilant seems to be the undertone here. Be like me and defer to others. And by the way, your knowledge may not be as firm as you think.